Hello friends, welcome to Salesforce CMAtics video session 149. So basically in today's video, we will actually try to understand, about polar gauge as well as flat gauge chart. Okay, what are the formatting options available under both of them? I think both of them are more or less will be similar in terms of the settings which they have. So maybe we can just, finish both of them in this particular session itself. Okay. So of course, again, I will go just go to this account of left join and what I will do is I will just duplicate this tab. Okay. Sorry, what happened? Something happened over here. Unpin. Okay, let me unpin. Yeah. So what I will do is here I will let it be here. Yeah. I will duplicate this and here of course I will choose the first option, which is the polar gauge chart. Okay. And here very quickly I will choose the flat gauge. Okay. As you can see here, this appearance is something which you have already observed. That is the first thing. And what I will do is I will very quickly go to the formatting option. Under polar gauge, you have this center size. Okay. If you make it as 100%, this is how it will look like. It will look like complete dot. So basically what happens with the center size, like it depends how much percentage you want the center to appear. Okay. As you can see, this is more like a donut kind of a thing which is coming up. And if you want to increase that size further, of course, you cannot go less than 50% over here. But if you want to increase that size further, you can actually do that over here. Okay, so I think 90%, I think so 70% makes sense to me as of now. And whatever values you want to, if you don't want to show the values, that value won't appear. Okay, and if you want to show it as number, that exact number will appear over here. Okay, and if you want to show as compact number, so whenever you go for a compact number, okay, one thing you must remember is that the point which comes into picture is the number of decimal digits. Okay, you can always go for the number of decimal digits. I think as of now the number makes sense over here, and you can also go for percentage, as you can see. Okay, that's fine. So I think I can go for number as of now. The next point is the range values. Okay, so minimum value of the low color band. So here what I can do is I can go for 100. Okay, you see there's a little bit of a difference in color, like this is more on the darker shade. Okay, this is more on the lighter shade. Okay, so what I can do is, since the number is this much, I can go for 13,000. Okay, over here, no, not 13,000, I'm sorry, 1,300. Okay, that will be the maximum range. Okay, because this is the whole thing which is being occupied. And maybe the minimum I can go for something like 1,000. Okay, so as you can see, if I go for minimum 1,000 and the maximum is 1,000, this is how much gap it is left. Okay, so that's how this is defined. And if I go for 100, so whichever value is less than 100, that will be an empty spaces. Okay, so for example, if I start the minimum only and 1,000, okay, as you can see, this much space will be left over here. Okay, so that's how we can play around. That is fine. So as of now, 100 to 1,300 makes sense to me. Maybe I can go for 10 as well. That is fine. Okay, uh, the next thing is the tooltip. Like here, of course, you have that option of adding a tool, something which was not there. So when we went for the gauge chart, okay, we didn't observe all these things, like the tooltip trellis. I think that is something you must have noticed, the tooltip trellis. Now here, of course, again you have that. I'm not showing it separately. What I can do is I can go for trellis, of course, that is a different thing, and I can quickly show you what are the things which comes up when we go for trellis. As of now, we'll keep it default, like the ones which we had 0 to 100. I think the color band is not making that much sense over here. Okay, now what I will do is very quickly I will jump to the flat gauge and we will very quickly see what are the options which are there when we are not going for trails. Okay, that is something which we can observe very quickly. And again, here also you have that same thing. Okay, maybe I can go for I think numbers is fine as of now. That is completely fine. Here you have something called as the reference line, interestingly. Okay, now that is something which is there. So basically, let's say you have this reference line, like I want to add it somewhere in let's say 600. Okay, and I can just name it as something like mid value. Okay, I can name it as something like mid value. The color maybe which I can choose is like yellow. So that color which is appearing in the background is yellow. Okay, this is the mid value. Okay, and maybe I can choose something like, let's say, maybe the color I can go for something like green. Okay, that is fine. Green this much lighter, I think a bit on the lighter side. Okay, yeah, that is something which is cool. Like on the flat gauge, you have that option of adding the reference value. And for range, of course, we can make it as different thing. Okay, here I think it won't make that much of a difference. So ideally, if you see, like, on the only difference between this one, That is, the polar gauge. Polar, of course, is look like a polar, more like a donut, and flat, as far as the name is, look like a flat. And the thing is that it has that extra thing of adding the reference line, something which you don't get to see over here. Okay, you cannot add the reference line. Of course, you can play with the center side, like here it's not required because it's a flat gauge, but you can have the option of adding the reference line for sure. Okay, that is something great about this. Now, what we can do is under trellis, we can very quickly go for stage bucket. Maybe I can deal with two as of now. Okay, and we will understand what are the things which are there. Again, the thing is same. Okay, so as you can see here, whatever type we went through earlier, okay, that is the same options which come up, as well as the size ratio. Okay, I'm not walking through that once again, but yeah, these are the options which we also had in the Gauss chart. Okay, now if you come over here, if you go for trellis, like maybe I can go for once again the stage bucket. Okay, and as you can see, it's again the same thing where you get to choose the type. Okay, basically this type, as you can see, it separate the graphs based on groupings. Fine, so it has nothing to do with this chart type. It's more like the groupings which is done, which comes under trellis. And the size ratio is also the same thing, like it set the trellis size by width and height ratio. Okay, so more or less it's the same characters which is present in all the parts of the Gauss chart, I guess. Okay, so that's the thing. Fine, so yeah, I think more or less, I think this is something we can actually create over here. Fine, so even if you do further groupings, that same thing will remain. Okay, that same thing about the reference line is definitely going to remain. Okay, the number of more groupings we have, that reference line will be intact for that particular thing. Okay, so that's the thing about this one. So yeah, that's more or less about this. And maybe what I can do is I can very quickly uh, duplicate one thing, and we can very quickly check that thing which we have already done on the Gauss chart. Okay, so when we were doing the Gauss chart, okay, one thing you must have observed by now, that we don't have this options. Okay, so we have this something called trellis and conditional formatting, which is fine, but we don't have this option of chart markers. Okay, chart markers is something which is not there. So what I can do is very quickly I can just okay. So if you see here, basically we don't have this option of chart markers and tooltip. Okay, something which is not there. You see, the chart markers and tooltip option is not there. The range value is there, which is fine. Okay, you have something called as polar gauge difference, like the polar gauge things. It's named as polar gauge because of the chart name. Fine, but you don't have this option of tooltip and chart markers. That's something which was not there under Gauss chart, and something which you is basically may not require it. Okay, that's why it's not here. Okay, then of course this chart markers, now we have already gone through, and we know it how to do it, right? And other than that, if you see, like under flat gauge, you have that extra option of choosing the reference line, because other than that, more of the values are same. So for example, here also, if you go through the Gauss chart, it basically shows you like how you can display the value as, and if you go for a compact number, how you want to display the decimal digits. Okay, something which is there under polar gauge as well. Okay, on and polar gauge, like you have that extra option of center size, which is there. That is fine. And on the flat gauge also, you have the same thing, like how you want to show the value as, and basically under flat gauge you have this option of reference. Like here also, if I go for compact number, it will show me that option of decimal digits. Okay, so the three difference, if you see, if you can observe right now, first we will have a separate sessions on this as well. And here also, like you have this extra thing of showing the band percentage, the band range, and the band level, as well as choosing the gauge angle. Okay, and if you go for the range values, again the range values is basically the same in all of them. Okay, there's no difference in the range values. Okay, so yeah, the first point of difference definitely as of now, which we have walked through for this gauge chart, and this polar gauge as well as flat gauge, because we have walked through, we can actually do the difference right now, but we can have a separate session as well, where the thing is that under gauge chart you don't have that option of tooltip and chart markers. Okay, then secondly, whatever options are there, you don't have that options of choosing the band percentage, band range, and band level. Something you can disable or enable: the band percentage, the band level, and the band range. Okay, under this one you have that option of center size, which is there. And if you go to flat gauge, you have that option of choosing the reference line. Okay, that reference line is something which is not present in the other two. Fine. And yeah, other than that, that's the thing. And of course, when you go for the trellis, basically the trellis option portion is actually similar to each one of them. Fine. So yeah, I think that's it about this one. I don't think so there's nothing something else which we have to do. Maybe you can just check around with other parts as well. For example, right now, so basically I just went for the stage bucket, and maybe you can very quickly check for something like industry by choosing it as. So let me go to the polar gauge, and you can just check for some other fields under trellis, which will give you a lot of options. So maybe if I go for this one, polar gauge, and here the center size I can reduce it further to 70, okay, which makes sense. Fine. And here under range values is 0 and 100 is fine. And if I go for trellis, okay, what I can do is I can make it under wrap size. Okay, I think this one makes much more sense to me. Fine. And here, of course, as you can see, the minimum is 0 and the maximum is 100. But this is how this whole concept looks like 53 is there. Okay, so if you make the max as 100, so definitely it will show up to 53. The other part will be left as it is. If it is 0 to 100 and if it's 89, a big portion will be left as it is. For example, right now, for example, let's say for max, if I make, let's say, something like 70, okay, what will happen is, so as you can see here, okay, whichever is like 68 is close to 70, that's why you see a little bit of empty spaces, but otherwise whichever is less than 70, that will be completely filled out. Okay, whichever will be more than 70, I'm sorry. Okay, so for example 89, 82, these are more than 70, so this will be completely filled out donut. If it is less than 70, as you can see, it's that portion is filled up. Here also a little bit portion is there, but because 60 and 70 are very close, you cannot see that difference, and here also you can see that. So that's how you can play around with the max and mean. Okay, so maximum is like this, how the color will be. And here, of course, you can further do it on the conditional formatting and change the color as well. Okay, something we can do in our next sessions and all. But yeah, this is how this whole thing about this one looks like. Fine. So that's the thing about this. And similarly, we can very quickly check for the flat one as well. Okay. What I can do is I can open it once again. I will very quickly go for the flat gauge. Under trellis, I will choose industry. And here, basically what I will do is I will go for again that one, which is wrap. Okay, and yeah, the step sizes, I think this is fine. Okay, so yeah, this is something I can go through for this one as well. Fine. So yeah, that's it. We can actually walk through in details in our next session. So I will very quickly save it as formatting options under polar gauge chart. Okay, formatting options under polar gauge chart, and I will save it in my recipe data set, which is fine. And here also I'll do the same thing of having the formatting options under head gauge chart. I will save this once again. Options under that gauge chart. Okay, this will be my recipe circle as well as this one. Okay, so I guess I hope you understood like what is the difference between the formatting options, like what is the formatting options available under the polar gauge chart and what are the formatting options available on the flat gauge chart. Of course, the way it's visualized, that visual difference is something which you can see, as well as we have gone through some of the settings, difference in settings which are also there. Okay, so yeah, we will meet in the next session where we will walk through the bullet, right? This is the bullet as well as the rating. Okay, so we'll walk through the bullet and rating together in our next video. Okay, so thank you.